What up? Today is day 1, posting 1 video a day for 100 days. Recently, I had a serious wreck on my snowboard and I fractured my back in 5 different spots. And typically throughout my life, I have relied heavily on my physical activity and, what that has been able to bring me. I've done sales for a long time, about 5 years, and recently this last year I switched back into heating and air conditioning because I was just fucking up so bad that sales wasn't paying off for me, and I thought, man, I think I'll go back into construction. So I went back into construction and I relapsed onto drugs and drinking. Next thing you know, 10 months went by and I basically made 0 progress in my life. And the universe has an interesting way of talking to me because I seem to not listen. And so one day I was like, I'm not going to work, I'm fed up with this shit. And I went snowboarding, but first I went and bought a bunch of weed, and I just all different kinds, and I got so high, and I was snowboarding, and I literally was with like a group of 10 people, and I split up from them because I was like, I'm going home, I'm done. And I started riding back to my car. About 30 seconds before I get to my car, I try to hit this little side jump, get all sketchy, catch my heel edge, and get sent straight to my back really hard, and I fractured my back in 5 spots. So boom, the universe is like, all right, dude, you've had enough. So it's been a very interesting time for me because I haven't been able to do anything, and I stopped getting high. I'm about a month into my sobriety this time, and I feel incredible. I just want to share that feeling with other people because I know a lot of people struggle with alcohol and drugs, these other vices. I know I did, and I've actually been to rehab 3 separate times, and so I feel like I have a couple of things that I could share on that subject. And my first point is super interesting because today I was like, man, I wish I was still in rehab. What a fucked up thought. Why would I still wish that I was in rehab? And I think it's because I was so dialed in when I was in rehab. I was so dialed in. I only had one goal, and that was just to stay sober and focus on myself and build myself up. They had everything so structured. On this day we're doing this at this time, this other day we're doing this and this and this. I was so dialed that I didn't have any distractions, it seemed like. They took my phone away. This last time I was an inpatient, and because I got another DUI, I had 2 DUIs. I had 2 DUIs and I got in a car wreck, and I thought I was getting a 3rd DUI. I was like, I'm going to prison, because they had already sent me to jail, and I thought I was going to prison. So I'm like, if I go to rehab, I will not have to go to prison. And I didn't understand that I really had issues, and everyone knows you shouldn't be fucking doing that shit every day, drinking, smoking. I was smoking a lot of weed. I basically smoked weed for 15 years straight every day, and I would experiment with different drugs here and there, psychedelics, whatever, but weed was my main thing. And I just justified it. I was like, it's not bad enough. I'm not doing heroin, I'm not doing whatever. It's not bad enough. But it was just bad enough to the point where I stifled my growth, and I didn't really care about building myself up. And that's when I realized, I have a real problem. I have a thinking problem. I don't have a drug problem, obviously, but I have a thinking problem. And that's what I started to address. I started to address that problem because I had no other choice. I was in there, and I knew that if I left early, it would get back to my lawyer and get back to the courts, and I would probably be going to jail for a while, maybe even prison, I don't know. One of the things that I learned in rehab was this profound point that life happens for you. Life is not happening to you. Life is happening for you. And if you take that approach to life, you're going to see all these obstacles and all these things as just stepping stones, just weights to be lifted to make you stronger. And, when I took that approach and hung on to that, I succeeded in ways that I couldn't even fathom. So I got out of rehab about 2 years ago, and I was in door-to-door sales for a while. Did, whatever. I was getting by. I was making money, but I was still on drugs, and I was still doing that. And, I wasn't living up to my potential because that's just what I was doing. I was more focused on doing drugs and doing all that other shit than actually trying to be focused on myself and developing personally. My personal development journey, this journey that everyone's on, that no one likes to talk about, which is fucking crazy. And when I got out of rehab, I got a phone job that was sales, and I was focused on one thing. And I said, if I could just do this one thing, nothing else matters. Everything will fall into place. I just put that into the universe. I put my trust into the universe that if I focused on this one thing, if I just stayed sober, I didn't have to worry about money. I didn't have to worry about this. I didn't have to worry about any of that other stuff. So when I did that, I had the best year of my life. I made more money than I've ever made in my life. I made more progress, physically, financially, spiritually, emotionally. And I got cocky and let that slip, and I thought, man, I made so much fucking money this year, I'm gonna go on a road trip. I went on a road trip for about a month and a half, and I drove all over. I went to Yosemite, these different national parks, California, Oregon, Washington, Idaho. I just drove forever, and I relapsed. I got comfortable. I was like, weed's legal over here in California. I'll just buy some weed and smoke a joint on the beach. Next thing I know, holy shit, about 2 years passed, and I was getting comfortable again. I got out of sales. I was like, I'll just get back into construction. I can do this, and I can get high every day and just be whatever, be mediocre. I could shine in that position because I've done more work than a lot of people, and in that position, I'll be honest, a lot of people in construction aren't thinking about personal development. So I could shine in that because I had worked on my communication and worked on my people skills and everything. I don't know, how am I trying to put it? But, I was a star amongst mediocre people. And I've always felt that there was something more in my life. Next thing you know, boom, the universe, bam, I broke my back. And that's just, I won't listen unless something like that happens, I guess. And this time, I'm trying to listen. I got sober, I threw all my drugs away, and that's all there is to it. So this time, I'm just trying to listen. I'm trying to build a community of people who have the same goal as me. And that goal is to drop all my vices, drugs, drinking, women, pornography, whatever your vice is, food. drop all that shit, get in the best position I can be in, spiritually, physically, emotionally, and financially. That's my only goal. If you have the same goals, you're trying to work on that stuff, drop me a like, drop me a subscription. I really appreciate it. Till next time, let's go.